Well, good evening, YouTube. This is Chuck, and it's Saturday, January 13th, and it's about 7 o'clock in the evening. And as you can tell, I'm in the man cave, and I've got another story for you, Firefighter Story. And this is actually a second take on this. I shot it earlier this afternoon, and after I watched it a couple times, I didn't like the way it turned out. I thought I could have told the story better, so we'll see if we can get her this time. This story I'm about to tell you involves a construction accident. And it actually ties in with the water wheel fire. And I did some time back, I did a video about the water wheel fire. Well, what happens out there is what happens a lot of times with major forest fires is, of course, once the vegetation all gets burned away, and the first time it rains heavy, then of course the gravel and everything all washes down the hill because there's no vegetation to hold it back. And that's what happened on the water wheel fire. Same thing happened on the couple recent videos that I did about the old road down Mount Ord, and it's kind of the same deal. But the road through the water wheel fire burn is actually it's a county maintained road on Forest Service land, and it got closed 2 or 3 times due to gravel and debris getting washed across the road, and the county had to go open it up again. And so the Forest Service, and in order to mitigate that, after a few months, they hired a contractor to come in there and try to rechannel it, and try to clean up some of the mess, and try to take care of the issue. And to tell the truth, there's still a problem there from time to time in that area, and even as long as it's been since the fire. But anyway, several months after the water wheel fire itself happened, we were dispatched. I was the chief of a little volunteer department nearby there, and units from 3 different departments were dispatched to a report of a construction accident with a person trapped. And it was actually in the adjacent fire department's jurisdiction. And of course, we all worked together under a central dispatch automatic aid system. So we all operated like one big fire department. So anyway, we responded out there, and when we got there, what we found is a medium-sized tracked excavator machine, which was had fallen off the side of the road and was laying on its side. And the operator had apparently, when it started to go over, the operator had decided to try to jump clear of it. And to make a long story short, he didn't make it. And the boom came down and hit him. And he was pinned under the boom. Did not look good. So the other fire department, in whose jurisdiction it was, they were there. And their personnel checked the patient and could find no signs of life. So we figured it was going to be a fatality. And so then, once that happens, of course, then everything kind of shifts gears to a recovery operation. And then, of course, it's under the jurisdiction of law enforcement. And so we're just there in a assistance capacity. Well, as soon as when I got there and realized there wasn't anything that I particularly needed to do, I grabbed my camera and I started photo documenting the scene. That wasn't really my job to do that, but this just seemed like the right thing to do at the time. And I had a camera, and I've been a picture taker for years. I don't call myself a photographer, but I take a lot of pictures. And so anyway, I started photo documenting the scene, and so in the process, we were all what they call basic life support units. We were not paramedics on our units. And so as soon as they got a paramedic level unit there, the medic went down. And by that time, they'd brought a big front end loader in there, and they managed to work it down in there. And they put the front bucket of that loader underneath the boom on the excavator and lifted it up enough to where we had access to the patient. And so still looked pretty sketchy. I was a little concerned about that, but for the safety of the firefighters. But anyway, so the guys got down there, and the paramedic went and they put the heart monitor on the patient to check for any signs of electrical activity, which is one of the signs of life. Well, we do what we call a 3-lead test. And so all 3 leads came back what they call asystole. And asystole is nothing more than flatline. And it means there's no electrical activity in the heart. So if there's no electrical activity in the heart, you're dead. That's simple as that. So the first arriving units had already pronounced the patient deceased. The first arriving paramedic unit put the monitor on him to confirm it. And then, of course, we all kind of shifted into support mode for the body recovery rather than a rescue. Well, we'd called a helicopter for a medical helicopter initially when that first happened, because we knew pretty sure that if we got the patient out of there, we're going to have to fly him. Well, the medical helicopter had responded, and we canceled a mid-flight, but they're first responders too, and so they kind of came on in, and they went into an orbit around the scene so that their personnel could see what happened, because it was a kind of an unusual call, not the kind of thing we go to every day. So anyway, they made 2 or 3 orbits around the scene so they get a good look at it at fairly low altitude, and then they started heading back to their base. Well, a little while after this had all happened, and like I say, we kind of shifted into body recovery mode. And one of the guys, all of a sudden, he yelled, he said, he just moved. He moved. And so everybody went running back down there, and all of a sudden, the guy started gasping for breath. So the medic put the heart monitor back on him, used the same electrodes. They left the electrodes on him when they tested the first time, hooked it back up again, and by golly, he had a heartbeat. So his heart started back up again. Why? How? We don't know. So anyway, immediately we shifted gears back and into a rescue mode. And by this time, of course, the front end loader lifted the boom up so we can get the patient out of there. So we got him up there and moved him up to the road. I was asked to be the ground contact for the helicopter. And so I immediately got on the radio and called the helicopter and say, hey, come on back. We're going to, this guy's showing signs of life. We're going to fly him. And so designated that they land about a quarter mile south of the incident on a bridge. And so I went down there and brought the helicopter in. And they transported the patient by ambulance down to the helicopter, loaded him in the helicopter. And the picture that you saw for the thumbnail was actually taken by a newspaper photographer. And in the process, the firefighters and the ambulance people are loading the patient into the helicopter. And you can see my car on the far side, and I'm standing right in front of my car. I got a bright vest on and a helmet. And I was, like I say, the designated ground contact for the helicopter. I'm the guy that talks to them. And anyway, they ended up flying him to a level 1 trauma center down in the Phoenix area. And unfortunately, he did die later from his injuries. But, it's kind of interesting. You hear about that when somebody's pronounced dead and all of a sudden they're not. And this is a case of what happened to us. I mean, we were there. I was standing right there and saw when they put the monitor on him the first time, and I saw the asystole and 3 leads, and I knew that was not a good sign. So anyway, as you can well imagine, on Forest Service property, federal property, there was an incredible degree of investigation. Just about every federal, state, local agency and their dog was down there doing an investigation on it. And so it's been several months later. All of a sudden, one day, a couple of guys came into my office, and they were from Arizona OSHA. And one of the guys said, somebody told us that you were taking pictures there the day that happened, and before the body was even moved. And I said, yes, I did. I kind of went into photo documentation mode, and it just seemed like the thing to do. And they wanted to know if they could see my pictures. And so I had them loaded up on my fire department computer. And so they looked at the pictures, and they said that they complimented me on it. They said, he said, we got pictures from all the other people that investigated it, and these are the best that show the incident the best. And they wanted to know if they could have them and make them part of the report. And I said, well, certainly. So I downloaded them. I believe it was onto a disk, and gave them the pictures. And so that was on my fire department computer. And when I left there, of course, it stayed there. And so the only picture I ended up with is the one that I used for the thumbnail in this, showing them loading the patient in the helicopter. Well, what it turned out, what the investigation turned out, is that he was working below grade on the side of the road where it had been washed out. And he'd apparently reached down in there with his bucket to try to move a large boulder. And the boulder was too big for the machine to handle. And then the dirt bank collapsed as well. And of course, as I said, a lot of the old school construction guys, they don't like seat belts, and they figure if something's going to go bad, they're going to jump free. And that's what he tried to do, but he landed wrong, and the boom come down and hit him, and ultimately ended up killing him. But the just a little bit of a twist on the incident, and something a little bit different. And as I said, you hear stories about paramedics that pronounce somebody dead, and turns out they're not, or they come back to life or something. And it happens. And this is one case where it happened to us. And I mean, I was standing right there and saw the whole thing. And but anyway, that's my story for tonight. And I guess there's nothing left to do but to, as I always do, tell you to take care of each other, love each other, and take care of yourself. And remember that be careful out there, because accidents happen. And so I'm going to be shooting. I'm getting ready for my trip, and so I'll be shooting some other videos regarding that stuff. But thought I ran across that picture was on my backup hard drive that I discovered the other day, and it, of course, like a lot of things, triggered a memory. I thought it was a story worth telling you. So I guess there's nothing more to do right now than just until I talk to you again. I'll just tell you, peace out.